Okay, so very good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining in here today. And please make a note that this session is important for you all from two perspectives. One, it's a part of your NSEM exams. And number two, you're listening to it from a wonderful, wonderful person who has designed this entire neuroscience course that you all are studying here today. So, first of all, I would like to welcome you, Father Roy. Thank you for joining us, accepting the invitation to join us here today. And for all of you all who have or have not known Father Roy or have at least heard about him, um, if neuroscience course is there here at the undergraduate level at St. Xavier's College, and for you to sit and study in this class with me, then all thanks to Father Roy who brought it in the years once autonomy came in. And ever since the course has been very much active, even Maria ma'am, Neha ma'am, all of us here have been students to Father Roy ourselves and learned under Father Roy. And therefore, you can understand the inspiration when you listen to the three of us speak or when Maria will start as well. So therefore, it's obviously a wonderful time. And the reason is why I love to bring Father Roy on board every time to speak is that the conversations I've had with him are always stimulating, and I want you all to experience that kind of conversation, that kind of learning. And through something or a topic like this that Father Roy wants to present to all of us, it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I hope you all take home most of everything that you can learn. I would not even say some of it because it's worth listening to Father Roy and actually making those points and taking it home with you, reminiscing about these points and trying to bring in a change in your lives and even academically with the course. So, Father Roy, welcome you. And if you would like to say a few words to the students before starting, it's up to you, Father.
Thank you very much, Kyle, Professor Kyle, and I am truly honored and by your kind words. I'm also happy to be here and broadcasting this, even though there's about a 12-hour gap between Mumbai and California. But truly, it is a pleasure. We began the neuroscience course in 2012, so it is almost now 10 years, and I'm happy to see, the greatest pleasure a teacher gets is when his students, take over and even surpass the teacher. And so I'm very happy to be here with Professors Kyle, Neha, and Maria. The origins of this talk was during I had a fellowship about 5 years back in at Santa Clara University, and at that time I got an invite because of the nature of the talk to speak at the Google headquarters in Mountain View, and since then, of course, the stock has gone through various modifications and updating. But I do hope that this lecture is not only something for your syllabus, which is important, but it is also something from life, and that you can take many aspects of it for your everyday life. So, as mentioned, this part is going to deal, we are talking of addictions as a whole. I will start a little bit as an intro to substance addictions, but you all are going to have a full lecture later on that. And so I will not go into detail there, but more move on quickly to non-substance addiction. So at the start, I would like to take you. So, we are going to have a little story, a narrative that spreads over the whole world. We will start with the US, California in the US, we move to India, and then jet away to China. So, the story that I'm going to begin with, first of all, is about Wayne. Wayne was your typical skateboarder in California, and he started out by going to the skating rink and could see all those people there doing stunts, and he wanted to fit in. So he joined them and went into the rink. And soon They showed him all the tricks of skateboarding and he learned everything that he needed to know. But he also yearned for something more. He soon moved to the beaches and took up surfboarding, which gave him far more thrills because of the danger involved. He became very good at surfboarding as well, but then he was looking for a much higher kick. A lot of surfboarders would meet together after their time on the waves to drink a beer and to chill. Wayne started drinking beer with them. From beer, it went on to mild drugs. But he and his group of friends were always in search of the next big high. And so within no time, it moved on to truly addictive drugs, heroin, cocaine. So Wayne, name changed of course, shares his experience of how he got addicted to chemical drugs, which form an important part of substance addiction. Other forms of substance addiction are alcohol and nicotine. Now, there are good drugs which doctors prescribe to make some therapeutic changes. But these same drugs could also lead to addiction in the same manner as recreational drugs like marijuana and the more addictive drugs like heroin and cocaine. So, when we speak of a chemical imbalance, this balance is restored by seeking a remedy in therapeutic chemicals, namely medicinal drugs. Outside the medical establishments, a person may seek to alter his or her chemical responses in some way by chemicals which are nothing but addictive drugs, which may be legal or illegal to consume. These drugs do many of the same things as naturally occurring neurotransmitters. Drugs can imitate neurotransmitters or modify what they do, even block neurotransmitter action. Thus, they can have deep, lasting, and profound effects on the brain. How do I know that I'm addicted to something? On the right side of your screen, you can see the addiction monitor. There are things that we like, there are things that we may want, and there are things that our body may need. But if we are craving a particular substance regularly, then we may consider ourselves to be addicted. How do these drugs work? Drugs work on signaling pathways connected to biochemical signaling. Chemicals activate the receptors or all that binds. So, various types of drugs are there. We know one of the most common neurotransmitter, or what we call an endogenous drug within the body. It is nothing but, of course, a chemical. So dopamine uptake blockers affect dopamine function. So basically what happens is that there is a blocking, and the dopamine which would then normally be absorbed is prevented and remains within the synapses, and therefore you carry on getting that high or the kick. And when this carries on over a period of times, it leads to addiction. Of course, we have heard of many other drugs, Prozac, LSD, MDMA, or cocaine. And of course, medical drugs like Ritalin is used for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which can also lead to addiction. Now, having moved from substance addiction to non-substance addiction, what happens exactly? And a simple thing would be to ask yourself, what do you feel when you get a like on social media? Or what do you feel when you have posted something and for over 1 minute, not one person has liked it? Do you start getting worried? Oh, No one likes me. No one likes my post. What are the feelings that come about? Or, for example, when you have a YouTube channel, you keep watching how many views are there. Or on your Twitter handle, on Instagram, Snapchat, or any of the social media that you use. The general answer to the above question is that one feels good, feels affirmed, excited, and motivated. Certain centers in the brain get activated, and these are referred to as the reward centers of the brain. Because we like this momentary high, we go out in search of more. It has been found that over 50% of the time people check their phones even though there is no ring, even though there is no alert. Why do we do that? Because the pleasure centers of the brain get activated. Even though the hippocampus is not directly considered one of the reward centers, because it is linked to the nucleus accumbens, it can be considered indirectly to be a reward center of the brain. Memory and learning take place in the hippocampus. When the nucleus accumbens is activated due to something pleasurable, as it is indirectly connected to the hippocampus, that instantaneous thrill becomes a memory and over time gets consolidated. The amygdala is the seat of emotions in the brain. It is here that the feel-good factor that we experience when we get a like or many views is located. Thus, as can be seen, all these parts of the brains can be considered to jointly make up the reward centers of the brain. These very same centers are the ones that are activated when we are addicted to alcohol, food, drugs, etc., substance addictions. And like these substance addictions, it is these very same centers that get activated with non-substance or behavioral addiction. So this is a very important point. Basically, the neural pathways taking part in substance addiction are working in the same way for non-substance addiction as well. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to do an activity. Switch off your phone and exchange your phone with someone around you. Now, possibly you are alone at home. So maybe you would want to take your phone quickly and keep it in another room. Okay, just do that quickly. Switch off your phone, keep it in another room and come back within 30 seconds. Wow, you're all good kids. You'll have done that seriously. We are using the honesty code here. Okay, so now I want you to resist the urge to get back your phone before I tell you. We started with Wayne from California. Let's move to Raj from India. Raj is one of those techie guys. He keeps using his phone and is addicted to his phone. He continuously checks his WhatsApp, Instagram, and other social handles and gets worried if his friends don't like his post. He's not just addicted to his phone, but has a profound addiction to his virtual social circle. He gets up 2 or 3 times at night to check his phone, such that when someone in the house pointed out his behavior was strange, his immediate reaction was to go on the defensive. It was much later, while he was in treatment, that he began to realize that getting up multiple times in the night to check one's phone is a clear sign of being addicted. We now come to Huang from China. He is not much addicted to his phone, but he can be on his gaming console for 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours a day. And today he need not remain on his gaming console in his room. Thanks to online gaming, he can have a partner or a team of people with whom he plays from anywhere in the world. So, what is the extent of damage that this pharmaceutically enhanced gadget-filled 21st century done to our brains? So we are talking about the substance addiction, all pharmaceutical drugs, as well as the addiction due to our gadgets. Users become intellectual lightweights. They are unable to concentrate and get easily distracted. The thirst for instant gratification becomes endemic. There is a lack of deep thinking skills because they do not allow time for reflection, analysis, or critical thinking. There is a stagnation in technology and even in literature as our attention span shortens. Of course, there are some positives. Users become bright, nimble decision makers. They're able to find answers quickly. And all of us know that if I, as a teacher, don't know an answer to the question, I can just ask someone in my class, and on Google, we get the answer immediately. Now, all this hinders the ability to be creative and imaginative. So, why is then non-substance addiction a problem? After the 60s onwards, and more research coming in, we saw that the physical structure of the brain was actually changing. Till that portion in time, it was believed that the brain was sort of fixed after your early childhood. Whatever development took place in your early childhood. And then the brain got fixed. But research started coming in small doses from everywhere. But a seminal study was the study on London taxi drivers. It's an important mark in understanding that the brain changes not just psychologically, but also physically. So we know that there is a marked difference between the roads in London, because the roads were built around the bullock cart trails from centuries earlier, as opposed to, say, New York. New York, after the fire at the end of the 19th century, was laid out very systematically on a grid matrix. So there were streets and there was avenues. But London, you still had to figure out the twists and the turns, and the taxi drivers had to know the route map. Remember, we are talking of this before Google Maps and before any of our devices were able to track us. And what did they find? That area of the brain which is responsible for navigation was thicker in these London taxi drivers than the subject population. And that is the area of the hippocampus. So the hippocampus is used for navigation, and it is also called what we could today say the GPS of the body. It is used for spatial navigation. So once this came out, it became clear that the brain is no longer fixed, but can be described as plastic, from where we get the concept of neuroplasticity of the brain. The more time spent on an activity leads to rewiring. Consequently, the long stretches of time spent on smartphones or gaming devices can even bring about physical changes in the brain. The physical rewiring of the brain can occur in cases of repetitive behaviors leading to addiction. And therefore, the excessive time spent on technology could be a cause for concern. Another experiment that I would like to speak about was the researchers selected subjects who played online games for 10 hours or more. Is there any one of you or your friends who plays online games for 10 hours or more? The researchers also selected 18 other healthy controls who spent less than 2 hours on online games. All these were placed into an MRI to undergo 2 types of brain scans. Specialized brain scans showed changes in the white matter of the brain in web addicts compared to non-addicts. There was evidence of disruption in connections to nerve fibers, spotlighting brain areas involved in emotion, decision making, and self control. The result also suggests that internet addiction disorder, IAD, may also share psychological and neural mechanisms with other types of substance addiction and impulse control. Additionally, it was found that white matter abnormalities in the orbitofrontal cortex and other truly significant brain areas are present, not only in substance addiction, but also in behavioral addiction. Shrinkage could lead to negative effects such as reduced inhibition of inappropriate behavior and diminished goal orientation in students. Let me introduce two new terms. Digital natives are those like you who have grown up using digital devices, and digital immigrants are people like me who have begun to use devices at a much later age. Digital natives tend to show lack of human contact skills like maintaining eye contact or noticing verbal cues. Okay, now remember the activity I had given. I would like you to unmute yourself and share some of the feelings that you felt during the time your phone was not with you. Or you can put the answer in the chat.
Restless.
Go ahead. Restless. Okay. Thank you, Malika.
Anxious.
Anxious. Okay. Thank you, Yagnit.
I was also thinking about what I want to do when I switch my phone on the next time.
Cool. True. Any of the guys here?
There are some springing up on the Zoom chat as well.
Okay.
Unable to focus properly, mind is constantly diverted. Check the phone as soon as it's put down.
Okay. So thank you for the sharing and for the honesty. And this is true, okay, for all of us. Okay, I am confessing that I may not be. It all depends on degrees, but I am also in a certain way addicted to my phone, and some of these things are part of my behavior also. So y'all have correctly described anxiety, feeling restless. Okay, now the simple exercise demonstrates for us that we are in the process of addiction. Can we pull ourselves back from this brink of addiction? So the question is, can we now rewire our brains so that we can not get into this addiction trap? And that is something that I will talk about a little later. Obviously, the simple answer is yes, because we know you can change your brain. So if you have already, like the bullock cart tracks in mud, made a track, you can rechange that pathway. But the best way to do it is to try and carve out a different pathway by incorporating different behaviors. So I'm going to ask you now to think of, is there something in your life that's not going right? Is there something that you'd like to change? Is there something in your life that makes no sense? Do you feel like just giving up? Are there times in your life when you've had enough? Are there times the clouds seem all black? Are there days in your life when there seems no way? Are there nights when life seems a cross? I'm going to offer you this composition of mine, and I invite you to think of anything that is troubling you, okay, addiction or not addiction or anything at home, and allow this song to go through you. And the chorus is, of course, hope, faith, and love. That's what life's all about. Okay. Kyle, just give me the thumbs up sign when you start hearing the...
Sure, Father.
that's not going right? Is there something that you'd like to change? Is there something in your life that makes no sense? Do you feel like just giving up? Are there times in your life when you've had enough? Are there times the clouds seem more black? Are there days in your life when there seems no way? Are there nights when life seems a cross? Oh, faith and love's what keeps life moving on. Oh, faith and love, that's what life's all about. Oh, faith and love, my friend, will see us through. Yes, there were times in my life too, days when I had enough, but hope just kept me going on, hope in a God who loves. Hope, faith, and love, what keeps life moving on. Hope, faith, and love, that's what life's all about. Hope, faith, and love, my friend, will see us through. Hope, faith, and love, my friend, will see us through.
Okay. So I offer you the song not just for this particular theme that we are tackling, but also for all that we are going through. It's been 18 months since you have been online and not been able to see your classmates, not been able to really have the college experience. And for everyone, this has been a really trying time. And we are still not out of the woods. We are now facing the Delta variant. And so it is up to each one of us to dig into ourselves and try to keep coming, bringing out hope and faith that we will see this through and that in a short while we will be overcome it and we will look back and say that this has made us stronger for life. I've got a lot of videos on YouTube on COVID and how to build up your immune system. And of course, a lot of fun videos like music and playing the piano. So I invite you to go and when you're feeling stressed and just listen to some of them. All the music videos have a message. So the only request is don't forget to subscribe so that, that helps to build up the channel. I now come to this last part of what are some of the steps that we would take to get out of any addiction that we have. Okay, so let's first of all revive our willpower. So willpower can be exercised like a muscle. Okay, it forces us to get up in the morning. It prevents you from punching people you hate, and it makes you work. But remember, willpower after some times plateaus. So while willpower is important for us to get started, it is not enough for us to carry on on the whole marathon. So therefore, we need other things for that. The second is to, first of all, mind map your vision. What is it that is not going right? What is it that you're addicted to? What are some of the problems that you are facing in your life? Put that, okay, and then you have to discern. I am going to choose 1 or 2 areas of my life to work on. Don't try to change your full self, okay, because then you're going to, that's a recipe for failure. You just choose 1 or 2 areas, and other areas you can do later down the line. And how do you decide what are the areas I should choose? There may be so many things that I want to improve upon, so many things that I want to do. How do you discern? How do you choose? And the answer to that is choose that which your body feels it has the energy to work on. And sometimes that may not be the most important thing that your parents or your teachers ask you to change. That will come in its own time. What you do choose is something that you feel, okay, I think I can work on this now. Once you've chosen that, repeatedly place the thought in your mind. Use Post-it, put it on your phone screen, keep it flashcards, etc., and keep bringing that in your mind before you go to sleep. When you get up in the morning, this is my thing that I want to change. And always put the change in the positive. Don't think of the negative, but think of what is the positive behavior that you are seeking to elicit. So if, for example, I want to give up smoking, then I'm going to think of clean lungs, more energy, I'll be more fit, and I'll be able to run better, etc. So always put the change that you want in the positive rather than in the negative. And then the step 4, talk about it. Very often we feel we don't want to talk about it because what if I fail? What if I don't reach my goal? But no, talk about it among close friends, those you trust, not just to everyone. And not that, I'm doing this, but when you talk about it, when you share the difficulties, the challenges, then you sort of get greater strength in pursuing. As I said, be positive. Okay, the whole interior of you should be possible that this change is going to come about. Maybe it takes time, maybe it's going to take its own sweet time, but I'm going to be positive about it. So even while I'm working to change something within myself, I have to make sure that I'm accepting myself as I am. Okay, I come as a package. I come with my strengths and with my weaknesses. I come with my shadow elements, with my sunshine elements, and I accept my whole self. And in this, once that is your base, then you try and change what needs to be changed. And finally, we cannot do this on our own. If you are religious, appeal to God. If you are non-religious or an atheist, appeal to some higher power to walk with you on this journey to change certain things in your life. And also, ultimately, the change is meant so that you can make a better contribution to society and you can leave the world at a much better place than when you found it. Okay, so thank you to the head of the department, Professor Marzaban Kotwal, to Professor Kyle and Nia, and of course, Maria. And now I am open to questions or any other difficulties regarding clarifications, questions, discussions.
Father, I have one question. My question is, what is the current condition of non-substance addiction in US and how it can be improved?
So see, as I said, this non-substance addiction is all over the world. Okay, and like already we say, like maybe in China it's about the gaming. In India it's about the phones. Okay, in US because of the easy availability of substance, marijuana and all that, that tends to be the predominant go-to. But even among youngsters, it could be the same things, whether it's your video games, whether it's your phone, whether it's the addiction to social media. So it is prevalent all over the world, and here also it is a big issue. Okay, so now we have students who have come in to class after nearly 18 months of being out. Y'all are still carrying on being online, but here students have come in, and we are noticing different types of behaviors, which we have to allow that, because they are now been away from close contact with anyone except their family for over 1.5 years. And so now this type of non-substance addiction shows itself in different ways, and we are still learning about it.
Thank you so much for that.
Welcome.
Father, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
So my question was, most times people don't realize that they're addicted. So what would you say are the warning signals to realize that you are addicted to something?
Okay, so your question is, what are the warning signals to realize? Okay, so I think that little chart that was there are certain things you like, certain things that you want, need, certain things that you want. But when the best thing to realize that you're addicted is, first of all, are your friends or your family or your teachers telling you, like, put away that phone, or you're checking your phone too often? The other thing is, you can make a self chart yourself. How many hours in the day do you spend online, whether it's phone, your iPad, or your computer, etc.? I'm not talking of work, college work, or assignments and all, but for other stuff on social media, how many hours a day do you spend? Okay, and once you note down the hour, say suppose someone says I spend 4 hours a day, then you yourself need to decide, is this too much for me? Without worrying about what is the standard thing of addiction and all. Is this too much for me? Do I want to spend time somewhere else? And you will then make a call. So the first thing is awareness. And that's why, Omika, your question is good. Am I aware of how many hours I spend? Then you can decide, is this going to lead to addiction? Is it taking away from something else? And then you yourself, once awareness, you can work out ways in which, okay, I'm going to check my phone only 10 times a day. Okay, I'm going to spend certain times in the morning for my work, and other times I'm not going to. So then you can work out ways in which you can, get off the addicted track. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much.
Father?
Yes.
I think in the modern environment, it's harder to draw the lines between what is sort of addiction. For example, if you're playing games 10 hours a day and that's how you make a living, it's harder to draw a line that is addiction, or that will produce the same whatever changes. But if that is your occupation, it is harder to draw the line there. Or if YouTube is an essential component in finding out something, or it is part of your research, or any of those things, it is harder to draw the lines there, I think. So how can we identify better, or work in a case where it is intertwined with what you do essentially?
Okay, so Manu, as I said, if it's work related, okay, whether you are researching games and that becomes your bread and butter, or you are making YouTubes, or you are YouTube influencer, etc., and you're producing, that's fine. Okay, that is work, that is creative work. Making a YouTube is creative work. All that is, you can consider and put it in your work. But say after that, besides that, how much time you're spending on Instagram, on Snapchat, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, etc., that is where you would then consider that to be counted, but not something that you're doing to earn your bread and butter.
Father, I had a question.
Yes, Pranav.
Here we discussed how non-substance addictions can have sort of negatory effects on the brain. Are there certain things that have like those addictions that can have certain positive effects as well on the brain?
Absolutely, absolutely. And therefore, even with these non-substance, I gave 3 4 positives. Kids who are used to playing video games and all become quick to make decisions, quick to take, because when you're playing the video games, you have to make that. So much to the dislike of parents, when I give these talks for parent teachers for schools, I also bring out the positives, and parents don't want to hear that. So, but in proportion, there is the negatives are greater. But I want to go to another aspect of your talk of, are some addictions good for you? And let me tell you, we as human beings survive only when there are addictions. And so we have to then cultivate what is going to be good addiction. So for example, exercising, okay, doing meditation, going out for a run. As you know, a lot of marathoners, once they get into marathons, they can't stop. I did my first triathlon about 2 months back. Okay, swimming, cycling, and running. I had never done that before. Okay, I had done a half marathon in Mumbai 5 years back. But this is the first time I did this. And after I finished it, even though it was tough, the first thing was, when am I going to do the next? So these are good addictions. If you are playing a musical instrument and you're learning that and you feel good about it, carry on doing it. Because so there are certain what we call good addictions, and there are certain negative addictions. But of course, as you said, addictions is on a spectrum. Even something to be good can become bad later on. If I'm going on running and my knees are giving trouble, but I cannot give up running, then the good addiction has become a bad addiction. So all of us human beings thrive on addictions. We have to choose which are good, which are bad, and ultimately we have to settle for the golden mean. Okay, I'm doing this activity, but I should make sure that it doesn't push me into a negative behavior on myself.
Thank you so much, Father.
Father, I just had one thing added to your line. Couldn't we say that adaptability helps us negate addictions? Like, if you say that I'm stuck onto running and even after my knees give away, but I'm ready to adapt, I could actually overcome addiction, right?
Yes, absolutely. If you're willing to make the change, like the benefits of running can be got also elsewhere. Okay, so it's a cardio exercise. Maybe I go for swimming, maybe I do something else. So I get the same benefits that running gives me, the same high, the same feel good chemicals of serotonin, dopamine that are released when I run. I replace it by something else which will be less harmful to my body. Yes, you're absolutely right, Kyle.
Yes, thank you so much. And students, any other questions?
Can I go ahead?
So, sir, here
I
just
have one
to
more question.
explain what Kyle sir just added, it was basically using Freudian displacement, right, to adjust the levels of what we do from the old exercise to the new exercise or something like that.
Yes. So yeah, you are displacing your energy spent on this into something else. You're channelizing, and therefore I gave the image of the bullock cart tracks. Okay, to avoid a behavior, the pathway has already been created in your brain, and sometimes, again, a lot of this class is too short to be able to say, but they found the best way is just create a new pathway, and then automatically that pathway, the older neuronal pathway, starts getting less and less thick. It's the rut becomes less. So if you take again the bullock cart example, if you made a new pathway in the field, then after some time that fills up with mud and it merges. Okay, I think Hilton Furtado had a question.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes, Father. So I had a question.
go ahead.
Yes. So when we are taking substance addictions and non-substance addictions, is there a difference in the regions of the brain where connections are formed, and is there a difference in getting out of that connections, in the difficulty in which we're getting out? So if it is substance, it's much more difficult because the regions of the brain that are activated are forming much more stronger connections. and if it is non-substance, then it is weaker. Is it so?
So first part is the pathways are the same. Okay, that is the first thing. Okay, with regard to, of course, chemicals and all, could it be that they form much faster? Yes. Okay, so if you're taking heroin or cocaine or something, those are directly chemicals going there and causing the changes. Whereas non-substance behaviors take a much longer time to this thing, but the pathways used are the same. And secondly, to get out of it, okay, there are various things that there are today this 12-step program which first began with Alcoholics Anonymous. Today we have Narcotics Anonymous, we have Internet Addict Anonymous, we have Sex Addict Anonymous. So all are following the 12-step program, and this because besides the other things that you do, when you join a group for the 12-step program, it helps you to then get rid of your addiction.
Okay, so the pathway is same, but is the strength same of the pathway in terms of substance and non-substance?
It takes longer for non-substance to become addicted than for substance addiction. And again, it differs from people to people. You could have your grandfather who has smoked all his life, okay, and is still 84 or 90 years old. Okay, or in terms of alcohol, that's what, when you go out with friends, everyone drinks, and like you, okay, you have good fun. But if your family has a case of alcohol addiction in your uncles or grandfathers, you have to be extra careful, because the other guy is not going to become an alcoholic, but you will become an alcoholic. So again, it depends on your genetic makeup, your family history, your environment. So all these things are there for everyone, but who will become the addict and who will not become the addict, that depends on your own genetic history, and that is very difficult to predict. So therefore, it's important, if you come from a family, then you should know right from the start, I come from an addictive family, and therefore this is not for me. Two more participants have raised their
Yes,
hands.
sir.
Someone who's
Thank
not
you,
yet
sir.
asked a question, welcome. Anyone who's not yet asked, and then we'll come back to Omika. Okay, go ahead, Omika. Kyle, do we have time?
I think we'll take this as the last question, Father, and then if the students have problems, we can let them put the questions to you by email. I'll send them your email ID.
Okay.
Yes, Father. So, for our generation, the way we reward ourselves is say maybe I'll finish this task and then watch a movie on Netflix, or then watch a show on Netflix or something like that. How do you suggest we change that? Because this is like a constant habit that we have, to reward ourselves by watching a TV or a movie.
Okay, very good question. So different people reward themselves differently. So one could be a movie, one could be by food, okay, or someone could be by after I finish something, I go out and take a smoke, etc. So what we need to build in, we need rewards, okay, but we have to make sure that the rewards don't become something that we are dependent on. So one best advice is try and change your rewards. So okay, one day I'm going to watch, okay, the next episode of whichever Netflix thing, and even again, when you're binge watching, you have to be very careful and set a deadline before you start. Am I going to watch one episode, two episodes, or three episodes? Okay, because once you start, you can just sit the whole night and then you can be sucked into it. So in order to prevent the addiction, you say beforehand, I'm going to watch this, or whether it's regard to chocolates that I'm going to reward myself, I'm going to eat this. So everything in moderation.
Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Father. And Pranav, I would like to call you to give a short vote of thanks to Father on behalf of all the students.
Good morning to one and all present here today. I, Pranav Johar, am honored to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the students. I truly thank Dr. Father Roy Pereira for sparing his much valuable time on this wonderful and truly insightful session on non-substance addiction, and thereby making us realize the gravitas of the situation and giving us the mechanism to cope with it. And apart from that, I think it was a very nice break, a very good productive break from the sequence of lectures that we had today. It goes on to the relatability of students as well, because it has been a topic, at least for me, that I have been dealing with, and so it was a good take on that, and I really thank you for that, Professor.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, professors, and thank you, students.
Yes. So thank you, Father Roy. Thank you so much for coming and enlightening us. Really enjoyed the session. And I always love to listen to you. And I hope even the students would agree. They are so enthusiastic. They were actually waiting to meet you. And finally, you've given us your valuable time. So thank you so much, Father Roy.
Thank you, Nia. If
Thank
you are
you,
not
Father
fed up
Roy.
of me, y'all can see more of me
No,
on
please,
YouTube.
sir. We all would be honored. Definitely. The students stayed back. That is a big thing. Like, they really enjoyed the session, Father Roy.
Okay, thank you for all those saying thank you on the chat also. Appreciate your thank yous.
Thank you, Father Roy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you,
should I
Maria.
end the session now?
Yeah.
Thank you, Father.
Father, take care.
Take care. God bless. Study hard.
Yes, yes, Father. Bye.
Bye. Bye.